Yeah.
And hopefully we can break the whole industry where people start to realize that, I'm not putting the stuff on my skin unless I can eat it or I know every single ingredient and it's less than 7 and it has no chemicals. To get real feedback is when I realized that don't force them or put them in a corner where you're making them buy. People don't like that. But give it to them as a gift. Boom, it's a wrap. Action.
Aquaba Violet.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. I should say Aquaba to you.
True, because I'm the one coming here.
Yes.
Yeah. For those that don't know, I'm very lucky to be in Accra, in the extremely beautiful Skin Gourmet HQ.
Thank you.
It's an amazing place. How much time did you took to decorate this? It looks like it took you a lot of work, no?
No one's actually asked me that question.
Really?
No one has asked us how long it took. I think it's something we're constantly doing. So constantly, like we're always improving, always changing, always moving something around, always like just upgrading. So even as we're talking right now, we're just talking to Vanessa, who works with us, and we're trying to figure out great spaces to make outside as well, you know, to kind of foster creativity and also to kind of give more of that brand experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, because I feel like walking into the brand when I get here, so I think that was the mission. But before we get started, for those that don't know you, how do you introduce yourself now, Violet?
Okay, so my name is Violet, and I'm the founder of Skin Gourmet, and I eat my skincare.
That's your introduction?
That's pretty much it.
You eat your skin.
I eat my skincare.
I think that's one thing that I wanted to ask you, obviously, is how did you came about this idea of edible skincare?
Okay, so it's like a lot of people ask me this question, and I always say, I'm not going to take credit for it. I'm never not take credit for it.
You're a very honest person.
Yeah, I'm not going to take credit for it. So, like, back when I started, I got this because I had a lip issue, right? And I had just traveled, gone outside, and this thing wasn't healing, and I didn't really know much about what's in Ghana.
Okay.
And my friend's like, Violet, it's like, just use shea butter. And I'm like...
It's going to work.
Shea butter.
This looks boring.
Are you joking? You know, and anyway, I used it and I was like, oh my God, 3 days, no scarring, one ingredient. I was like, what is this? So I said to myself, oh my God, I'm going to make the best body butter the world has ever seen. No research.
No research.
You went straight. I just went straight. And part of the reason why I didn't do research was because also I knew that market-wise, I knew I'd scare myself.
Okay.
Because, when you start doing research, when you start anything, you start looking at people's big numbers and their traction and their marketing.
And the difficulties.
So I just decided, let me just start. So one of those things was going to the source, right? And something I knew nothing about, and doing the research and meeting the people who did it, I was like, wait, so you are frying your food in the shea butter.
In the same shea butter.
And you're putting on your baby and in your hair. What is this? And then I started actually researching more about Ghanaian culture and Ghanaian tradition. And I found out that actually we use a lot of our skincare for our food.
Yes.
And the principle is simple. Whatever you put on your skin, your body absorbs it.
Exactly.
So if you can't eat it, then why would you put it on your skin? And I was like, boom, ding.
Revolution. Hey.
Yeah, essentially.
That's very true because I read somewhere that our skin is our largest organ.
Yes, it is.
People don't see it that way. They seem to think that the skin is like something on top of us.
Yes, that's just kind of give me that glow.
Exactly, just standing there. You can put anything on it. We don't care. It's just there. But that's very interesting because I always ask the same question. The first question I ask people in this podcast, and let me know how you answer that, is if you were to define your brand by a number and by a creation, what would that be?
Oh my God. Brand by number, the number would be 7.
7. What is that number? Why is 7?
Usually when we make a formulation, it's 7 ingredients or less. That's how we try to make it as pure as possible, as simple as possible, with the most effective. 7 ingredients.
Or less. Interesting.
Yes. But we go by that number a lot. You said that one was what?
One creation, like one product or one piece of content that you think defined the brand.
So I would say it would be, because this is a new product, so I'm going to go ahead and push it to this platform.
That's a little shameless plug. We like that.
So it's a cocoa and sea salt scrub. And it's
cocoa and sea salt scrub for the
yes, but our customers love it because they usually, if it's a mom and a kid, and this is one thing that blew my mind, was when we first introduced it, this mom came by and she goes, I have to buy 2. And I was like, why? She said, because my daughter uses it on her pancakes and I use it on my face.
What?
Yes. Yeah, but you see the thing, That's the thing.
That's an incredible double usage. I've never heard that.
Yes, but you see, that's the thing. We make it actually tasty. So if your kid gets into it and they taste it, they're going to eat it. And because of the ingredients that we use is 100% natural, if you're using it for your face, it's like amazing. Like your skin, you can see how your skin is reacting to it and you're loving it and you know it's healthy. And also the fact that your child can actually also use it and nothing happens. Yes, exactly.
or something great happens, they like it.
Exactly. They love it. They love it.
I think it's very hard to imagine kids being into skincare.
You know, until I had a baby, I did not understand. I just saw so I had to like put lotion, like not lotion, like our creams on my baby.
Yes.
And she opens it and she puts her fingers in it and straight into her
mouth. Yeah, because babies live through their mouth. Everything goes there first.
Exactly. So that's when I realized, oh my God, this is actually really important on that side as well. And then when I was even a kid, I used to go to my mom's cosmetics and I used to just like to mix everything just to see what I could come up with and then put it in the fridge to see who would drink it, just to see what would happen.
So you let people drink
and watch from the side.
Really?
Just to see.
Like no one was hurt in the process of all of your experiments?
Well, they found out that I was doing it and I got grounded and I was in trouble and I stopped doing it.
And then you stopped doing that?
Yeah, until I grew up. And then I started doing it again.
But this time with very edible.
In a very regulated way.
But we'll talk about regulation later because I think it's a big part of doing skincare and edible brand. Yeah. But another thing I really want to focus on is one number that I know about your brand, but I don't think maybe it's so significant for you, is you have 50,000 followers on Instagram, right?
Yes.
And that's surprising to me because I feel like you have 50,000 like ambassadors. I don't know how to explain it, but because for those that are listening or watching this podcast, there is quite a lot of shea butter brands. Yeah. Especially in Ghana. Yeah. So I think you have a lot of operations around these natural resources. Yeah. But you are probably the only brand that every time I meet someone that knows you, you become the de facto reference. Yay! They always talk about, you should get Skin Gourmet, you should talk about Skin Gourmet. And I'm like, is it a cult? Is it what do you do to people? So you need to tell me what happens there, like to your followers. Why are they so excited?
You know what it is because we love people, like in general. So one thing that like really, I think your customer sets you apart. And what I mean is that, like, everyone says, customer is king. And it's like now some outdated thing. But really, they're the ones who are giving you the money for whatever it is that you're getting. Amen. So we found that for us to really do well, we have to really put them first. And that also means getting to know them and having conversations with them on social media, seeing how best you can also always give them something. Yeah. So with our social media, we try as much as possible not just to keep hitting them with ads, buy this, buy that. Yeah. But it's also like the interaction, getting to know who they are, also following their pages, and then just kind of getting that conversation going.
All the time.
Yes.
And what do you learn from this conversation? Do you feel like your social media is kind of a research ground for you?
Yes and no. I think it's a research ground in terms of looking at our customers. Okay. But most people use their social media also to look at their competitors. But we don't do that at all. Like what we do with social media is, as you get to know about those who are following you, for example, our customers are very eco-conscious, very health conscious as well. So when we look at even the content that they're sharing, it also educates us about how to present the products to them in the way that they need it and also being considerate about the things that they care about. So it's good research because you get to know about the people that you're interacting with, see what they're following, what they're doing, and then also getting feedback from them because sometimes you put the wrong thing on there, they'll let you have it.
They will let you, you will feel it.
Through that like conversation, like understanding that even if maybe someone feels something very passionate about something, it's not necessarily something to be offended about, but rather they're teaching you something in a different sort of language and also kind of just accommodating all of that and all the different views on social media and also learning how to navigate social media because it's very tricky ground now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about because you see, even from listening to you, I don't know if others can confirm, but if they do, they will tell you in the comments. You seem to be a very big brand person. Would you define yourself as someone?
What's a brand person?
So in my opinion, when you're an entrepreneur, you have some people that are very focused on like, I don't know, product. Others that are very sales. Yeah. I'm very analytical, for example. I'm not very big at... Like, for example, when I asked you the number, you automatically gave me a significant number in your brand. Most people would have given... I would have given my revenue. I would have given, I don't know... Or other people's, because I don't know, for example, other people would have given how many employees they have.
Yeah. Oh my God. Good point.
And it's interesting. Like your brand is something that you naturally push forward. Would you say it's because you consciously do it, or were you always like that?
No, I think, when we're building Skin Gourmet, we don't think of it as just a business.
Okay.
It's like, you're selling something to people, but I don't believe people buy products. I feel like people buy an experience, or like, for example, if someone likes something about you, they like that personality. They like that character. It's not necessarily that thing.
Okay.
So for us, as we're building Skin Gourmet, I feel like Skin Gourmet also builds us.
Oh, interesting.
In terms of our values, our traits, the way we look, the way we walk, the way we talk. But I think a lot of people take it very superficially, right?
Okay,
like, it's just marketing, right? So
yeah, exactly.
You just say anything because it's marketing. But the thing is, people are smart. Like, if you're not really doing what you say you do and being authentic, after a while, people catch on to that, and that could completely and totally destroy your reputation. So we find that we have to live and breathe the brand, and it's very difficult. In the sense that if you say you want to be transparent, you got to be transparent. If you say you're going to be honest, you got to be honest. And I feel like that's part of also why I really love this brand so much, because it changes me and forces me to look at myself and the things about me that are not like the brand. And yes, the things
so what, for example, changed in your behavior?
Oh, I'll tell you, oh my God, so many things.
Yeah, tell me, give me an example.
Oh my gosh. So one thing we talk about is patience.
Okay.
Right? So Skin Gourmet, love is a big thing, and love goes the customer, your employees, everybody throughout. And so for me, I had to really learn that people culture. And when I say learn that people culture, was to really humble myself and realize that you're not better than any of your employees, you're not better than any of your customers, you're not better than anybody. It's kind of like we're all here as one team, we're trying to learn. So we have to kind of humble ourselves, but it's a very breaking thing to really look at yourself and just realize that, man, you ain't what you thought you were. Like, you really were feeling yourself.
Exactly. You thought you were the boss, but you're actually part of the process.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have to realize that this process is being, essentially, we came to serve. It's crazy. I see entrepreneurship as a service.
Amazing.
Exactly. So if you're giving something beyond the product. Yeah. And so that's why I'm so big on the brand, because we need to be authentic. We have to walk the talk.
That's impressive, because I think a lot of people feel, or at least they say they're authentic.
Yeah.
They probably feel like they're authentic because they feel like they are not lying. Because for most people, not lying equals being authentic.
Yeah.
But what would you say, for example, was when you go back at the beginning?
Yeah.
Let's go back. For example, the name Skin Gourmet.
Yes.
How did you choose that? Was it something that took you a lot of back and forth, or was it spontaneous?
Okay, so I prayed about it. I prayed about it. Like, I ain't gonna lie.
You prayed about it.
Jesus is my everything.
Okay.
I ain't gonna lie. So
that's interesting.
I prayed about it, and the beautiful thing was, right, so when I started, I didn't think edible skincare. Because remember, I told you I was very impulsive. Yeah. I had not gone to do my research yet in the village and all that stuff. Not yet. So I was like, let me start a skincare brand, something so... Even though I started with $145, right? I didn't have the money for my mouth, but I was like, I can see this being very high-end,
Okay.
Have the best ingredients, something great for the skin. Skin Gourmet.
And why the word gourmet came?
Gourmet because it was, high palate, luxury, like the best of food. But the reason why I prayed about it first. Okay. So then as the brand started to evolve and became edible skincare, I was like, oh my God.
It works.
Oh my gosh, exactly. It's Skin Gourmet. So yeah, that's why I didn't really come up with the name. I prayed for it. And that was the inspiration I got.
Okay, so you were looking for something that evoked this idea. So why luxury? Why didn't you
No, the thing is, at first it was luxury. But now I'm not so much for the word luxury.
Not anymore?
Not anymore. The reason why is I feel...
Yeah,
can you tell me? The word luxury is... The word I like to use now is just authentic, right? Because you can have something that is of the greatest quality. And it might not necessarily be the most expensive thing, but it's rare.
Okay, so you think rareness and quality...
Rareness, purity.
Purity.
Yes.
Does not necessarily mean luxury.
It doesn't necessarily mean luxury. Luxury is sometimes unattainable for some people. Like, for example, when you say luxury, I think about people who have cash.
Cash,
moolah,
money, yeah.
Stack, private jets and things. Understand? Yeah.
That's what we think. When you go luxury, you think...
You can decide to go to the Amazon in some very rural location, and they're having some amazing drink nobody has heard of, and yet they don't have a dime. But it's that experience, that authenticity, it's different, it's local to them, it has culture, it has tradition, it's rich. Right? But it's not necessarily luxury.
Yeah, so you're really talking about being rich, not being wealthy in the sense of
there
money.
You go. And I think, again, that's the brand evolving over time.
Because, when you started out, you said in your head you wanted something luxury.
Luxury, yeah.
But were you someone that was consuming a lot of luxury at the time?
Yeah, I was.
Okay, that's
at my father's expense.
Sorry.
sorry.
Sorry, uncle.
But as time went on, and I have to work, and I understand also the people that you're working with, where you're getting your things from, and meeting all these different communities.
Yeah.
I realize it's a brand that's inclusive from the very source to all the way end. And if I say luxury, then certain people are cut out. But it being authentic and it being rich, everybody has that access, but also the fact that it adds value to everybody along the value process. Chain.
True, because most of the luxury brands currently are not making. I'm not going to name names and point in any direction. But I feel like you're right. Luxury is currently going more excluding as time goes.
Yes.
And for the sake of exclusivity.
Yes.
Really not really changing lives, because initially it was craftsmen.
Yeah.
That were changing lives and changing, I might say, usage through new products.
Yes.
And now luxury is not really that. It's a lot of marketing, though.
Exactly.
So that's interesting. So you want to move away from this exclusiveness, maybe?
Yeah, because I think for us, when remember I used the word rich. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like it should be something that everybody can enjoy. So the consumer is enjoying the product, but the stakeholder, which would be the local communities we work with, which would be the farmers that we interact with, which would be even all the different workers that we interact, that it has to somehow build them up and also develop them. So even in the sourcing process, how is it that we can impact their lives and make sure that their lives are better than they were? So in other words, luxury is so on the other end of the value chain, whereas being authentic, being rich, being inclusive is throughout the value chain. And I think that makes the product also, it kind of steps it up a notch, because even now, luxury is kind of, that was the last year.
It's so consumerism.
You know,
also.
Exactly.
It goes
it's very consumerism based, right? Yeah. And if you look at our market, like the people who we're working with, these are health conscious, environmentally conscious people as well. Yeah. Who, I'm not saying they don't have the cash. They have the cash.
Probably.
But they're also more aware of other people. Yeah. And the fact that there is that gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That ecosystem. Exactly.
That ecosystem, yeah. And the planet, by the way, that people came to forget about. That's a very good point. And I'm trying to get a sense of, was that like something you always were interested in? So when I think about Violet before Skin Gourmet, who were you?
Okay, that's a good story. So, you know when you're growing up, you know what you want to be.
Yeah, some people do, yeah, definitely.
And I never knew what I wanted to be. Like, really? I was just enjoying life. But I always knew I loved people.
Okay.
And my mom was into human development. Like, so she worked with Save the Children. She worked for children's rights. She worked for women's rights. So I had that side. My dad was businessman.
Business.
So when I started doing business, I was like, yeah, but I want to do it as a force for good. Like, I want to change the world and impact lives. But it's weird. You don't really see that connection. So when I came back after traveling.
So you grew up in Ghana?
Okay, I left when I was 13.
You left Ghana when you was 13.
Then I went to Uganda. Then I went to Canada. Then I went to US. Then I went to Tunisia before I came back. So in all of this, I'm just like, life is so good. Exactly. And then I get here and I'm like, hey, is this home?
This is home.
This gap in terms of visible poverty.
Oh, you felt it.
Yeah, and it's very. I didn't feel comfortable about it because when I went to school with other Ghanaians.
Yes.
These were the creme de la creme, top of the class. And also to see people who don't have the same opportunities disturbed me, because I knew that they have the potential. We all have the potential to have the best lifestyle and to do the best for us. So I wanted to help.
So that was right after high school. When was that?
That was when I'd come back to Ghana. So that's around 2011.
You were already graduated?
I'd already graduated from my master's. I'd now come back and I started working with my dad again.
So first, I wanted to ask, why did you choose as a master? What did you choose?
So
for someone that didn't know where you were going, what did you choose?
Well, okay, so when I was going to school, school. I told my dad, I'm going to do poetry.
What?
Poetry. And my dad's like, awesome. I believe in you. You're going to do so well. So I went to school. And then they're like, okay, so you can do that, but you have to kind of get like a general pool of subjects. So I'm going to put you in marketing. I'm going to do a little bit of accounting. And my accounting teacher called me aside and he's like, Violet, you're really good at accounting. Like,
really?
Yeah, he said I had a natural knack for it, right?
Okay.
And he said, not everyone has that natural knack. I think you should do business.
And leave the poetry thing.
No, he put it nicely. You can still do poetry, but not as your main major. So I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, so I talked to my accounting teacher, and he says I'm really good at accounting, so I'm going to do business administration. My dad's like, thank God. Thank you, Jesus.
Amen. Did he say it out loud?
He said it out loud.
Yeah.
Like, you could tell like he had a weight on his shoulders, but he wanted to support me.
But he didn't say anything. When you said
No,
poetry?
that's my dad. Like, my dad will support me to the end of the earth in terms of my dreams and where I want to go. He won't force you to do something you don't want to do.
You like it.
But then when you are on the right, he's like, yes.
Good job.
Close one.
Close one. So basically, okay, so you started out looking for poetry. Why poetry? You like to write?
I guess
You liked words?
No, I was very expressive.
Expressive, you are.
Like very much, I had a lot of thoughts in my mind. I didn't know how to express, and you kind of express with code words, kind of with poetry. And I like a lot of art and just being different and out of the box in my own kind of space.
But you are good at accounting. That's surprising.
My dad. It was weird, right? Because like accounting, he didn't have to teach me the class. I can actually do the homework without being taught the lesson. But I figured I got that from my dad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because he maybe trained you when you were little. He got you.
No,
into
my dad's
business?
really good with numbers. Like he's a genius with numbers.
Okay.
My brother's also very good with like economics and stuff. So I'm just assuming that I probably just kind of.
And there was no practice because sometimes people say that when you were young, you maybe were exposed to that practice
They used
more.
to beat me in Ghana school.
Maybe.
They'll be like, so you know Ghana school, so they'll beat you with a cane if you get like under 6/10. And for me, like they'll be like, we're doing a math quiz right now, and I just really didn't care, and they'll beat me, and I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna be hardcore. If
Really?
you're gonna beat me, I'm not gonna study. Yeah.
And so you were not studying anymore on this part?
No. Okay, so what happened actually in Ghana school was the more because my parents got divorced when I was quite young.
Okay.
So my grades were really good. And after they got divorced, my grades plummeted.
Aye.
But you know, in Ghana schools, they don't sit down and find out what's going on with you.
No, they don't
Oh
care.
no, they just beat you.
Yeah,
They just beat you.
They beat the sense
So
into
means
you.
I said, beats me.
I'm not going
I'm
to-
not. So then when I went to Uganda, I had a teacher who said, Violet, you know, it doesn't matter what you think the answer is. It's not going to be wrong as long as you can explain it.
Yes.
And that's when I started doing well again.
Oh.
So it's like somebody actually telling me that A doesn't always have to be equal to A. Like 1 doesn't always have, 1 plus 1 is not always equal to 2 as long as you have a logical explanation for it. And it makes sense.
Okay, interesting. So you were always challenging a bit the status quo, but you managed to perform well.
Oh my God, you feel like a psychiatrist. I feel like you're cracking me, man.
No, I'm not.
Like, I mean, you see how deep he's getting it?
No. I'm really trying to get a sense of, because I really believe that the entrepreneur also says a lot about the brand, like I told you.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me.
Yeah, a big part of this podcast for me is also for people to get to know you, because I feel like anyone can intuitively, when they see Skin Gourmet, see it's not your average shea butter company.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like that. But I think a lot of people don't get the opportunity to experience you, because I don't think we see your face a lot on your Skin Gourmet platform.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And I don't hear you speak a lot, so that's interesting. So when you took all of that, so you came back to Ghana, you started working with your father initially. And that's how you ended up with your little issues with your lips. Then
So what happened was, when I saw that contrast, I wanted to help so bad.
Okay.
But I'm like, what can you do with a salary? There's nothing sustainable that you can come up with that would help and get to the root of the problem.
Okay.
So I kind of just shelved that.
Okay.
And then when I started Skin Gourmet and I created my first job, I was like, oh my God.
So when you hired someone.
When I hired someone was when I was like, oh my God, this is how I can actually make an impact in Ghana. If I continue to increase the number of jobs that we create, and of course we do the jobs with dignity and something that will create economic empowerment. And then I realized that this product is much deeper than that. And that's why it's handmade in Ghana. Is specifically to boost the Ghanaian economy.
Okay, very interesting. And when was that? When do you say you started doing Skin Gourmet?
2014.
2014? Oh, you've been at it for quite some time. 10 years this year.
We are old.
I told you we are old.
We are old.
10 years after, like, did you track anymore how many people you employed, or didn't you?
No, I think I would like to say off the top of my head, I started like one, then it became two, and then it gradually started growing to about 2022, where it went up to 20, and then because of the after effects of COVID, it went down again to like 11, and then now we're back up at 21.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of that.
But that's your direct employees. When I think about also people that you worked with, your suppliers.
Okay, so if you're talking about like jobs that we support, that's like over 3,000 now.
Really?
Yeah, so we're impacting over 15,000 people, and we've created about 40 different supply chains. Thank you.
40 different supply chains.
Yes, value chains, yeah.
Because it's 40 different products? Or what is
we have almost 50 different products.
50?
Okay.
It's
a small problem. It's a small problem.
Because normally people would say that normally you should try to limit your assortment.
You sound like a Ghanaian school teacher.
Really? I'm not. I'm asking a question.
No, it's true.
I'm
yes,
looking for your
no, you're
logical
right.
answer.
You're right.
What is your logical answer to that?
You know something? I'm not going to pretend I have one, okay? Let me just tell you what it is. So
Okay, tell me.
For me, it's like when you go to any community and you see a potential of a raw material that they know how to pre-process, I don't know. I think I'm just blessed with creativity. I'm able to come up with a product.
Anytime you see a community.
Yes. So, like, for example, we have this one community we went to visit called, it's in Amfuetas in Volta region. And I'm not going to tell what we're doing.
Okay.
But they make, like, palm wine. And so
palm oil.
Palm wine.
Palm wine.
Palm
okay, the wine. Okay.
And we figured out a product to make from that.
Wow.
And the sense behind it is that we can create the market demand for it. Like, it's just a matter of testing, tweaking, changing, and listening to customer feedback. And then we get a demand for that product line. So it's interesting that some people say, oh, just concentrate on 3, and then you make a lot more money. But we realize that when we actually reduce our product lines, it hits our bottom line.
Really?
Yeah, I think people like the experience of having several things to choose from one particular different brand. But again, at the same time, to
support the numbers.
So this is how I'm justifying myself.
Exactly, no problem. But I know the business person, the accountant in you knows the difference.
It's like, no. Violet, stop lying. No, like, seriously, we have, like, I think I joined another accelerator program. Okay. And the first thing they said is, you have 50 different?
50 different products, yeah.
I think this product, this program will really suit you. Financial modeling.
Definitely financial modeling. But I wouldn't change the mission because when you started, what was your first product?
Okay, so it was called the luxurious body butter.
Body butter. Okay.
And that product now is baobab and shea butter. Okay. So we basically simplified it a lot. And again, you see the word luxury, and we completely moved it out of there and kind of,
And that product was would you say that was the first product, but was it the product that really helped you grow the company? Because we tend to say, we put out a white paper report last year with all the data we have seen from the 20,000 brands that worked with us.
Yeah.
And we noticed that actually 80% of the sales of the brands are coming from 20% of the product.
Yes.
A very Pareto effect.
Yes, it's so true.
It's so true.
It's so true. But I don't give up.
No, it's okay. Keep going on other products. And I understand that. But one thing we noticed also is that for most brands to go through, let's say, steps of revenue, they need one product that is going to get them to another step of revenue. And what would be, if we ask you, do you have one product in your mind that really was the spark, that really make your brand grow? So
I would say it was the shea butter.
The same shea butter?
Shea butter and black soap.
Yes, you had that.
Also, and also coconut oil at one point in time.
So and
then honey at one point in time.
Okay.
So it depends on the market specifically, and it depends on the season. It's very strange.
Okay, can you explain that?
Okay, so like there are seasons when we watch, because we have sales reports, right? So you have a season where coconut oil is the best seller. Why? We don't know.
Really?
Yeah. Then you have another season where it would be lemongrass black soap. Okay. So it's not constant.
Each product has this moment of
but you have about 5 products that kind of do that movement. Yeah.
So, and that has been true since the beginning of each product.
Yeah, but the one product I'll say, we call it here almighty shea butter. Like
the almighty shea butter.
The almighty shea butter.
Is it still a baobab and shea butter?
No, I'm talking about raw shea butter. But we have a way of processing it and adding a little bit of value that's different from most. So most people would whip their shea butter, but we do ours a little bit different. So it has a different texture, but it's still pure shea butter. And
it still smells the same?
Yes, of course. The better your quality is, the better your shea butter smells.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes. So if you go and buy shea butter from just anywhere that's very old and not processed properly, it has a different smell as opposed to when it's processed really well, where it smells a little bit sweet.
It smells sweet.
A little bit sweet, yes, if it's processed properly.
Interesting. I didn't know that because I see the raw shea butter there. Is that the one we're talking
Almighty. That's Almighty raw shea butter.
That's the Almighty. There is Almighty on the side. Oh,
you see, that's also the biggest butter product we have because people actually even demand it in the bigger size than the smaller size.
Because they want to use it more longer from one purchase.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because I also know from coconut oil that I see there that yours is almost transparent. Yes. Which is a sign apparently that it's very, very, very pure from what I understand.
Yes. And it's also, again, for us, sourcing is very important.
Okay.
So when you have, someone might have lots of suppliers that supply them. We have one or two. And we stick with them until they get their specifications right.
And you're not afraid of being over-dependent? Because people tend to say that if you have one supplier or two, you're afraid of them dropping the ball one day.
Oh, I mean, it's happened to us before. But we also find that it's easier to, number one, trace if there's a problem. And number two, sometimes what they supply you is not necessarily to your specifications right now.
Okay.
But if you continue to work with them, they will figure it out. And then also when you put the majority of the bulk of the purchase in their basket, they're more motivated because they know that you represent a
but if
you
have
part. Your hand in different other people, you not traceability issues, people are not devoted to you, and also for us, we really care about the people we work with. So a lot of the problems we ask us, what are the problems that we can help you with? So we actually really invest in these communities as well. So it'd be difficult to do that if it's like a lot for now, maybe later on.
Okay, that's very interesting as a way of structuring the business. I didn't know that. Okay. And when I think about it, so when I take you back to 2014, so you were saying that you started with 145.
Yes.
That's the legend.
You know? And people are like, wait a minute, but how come it's just $45? So that tells you I was terrible with money, obviously. And because I was terrible with money, like my dad's not going to be like, let me just invest in your business because you have $45 in your bank account. Like,
exactly.
Who's going to money there? But I called my uncle in the UK, and I think that's the thing that's important is when we're talking about starting businesses, a lot of people think it's just the money you have.
Yes.
But I think we can also leverage off your relationships.
It's important, and I think a lot of people in Africa are hiding that.
Yeah, why?
I don't know. From my experience, it's because they feel like they want to like keep the I made by myself, the self-made. You know, there is a self-made myth.
Yeah.
And if you say, oh, I went to my family, to my friends, people feel like, oh, that's because you're lucky to have rich parents. So it kind of gives kind of a discount to your story. That's why people hide it. But I think it's sad because anywhere else it's true also.
Exactly.
There is no place where anybody was done alone.
Exactly. So when I start with when I say $45, like my dad he's not like broke. Like he was pretty wealthy. Yeah. But my dad's the type of person who said to me from the very beginning, he goes, he gave me this thing of analogy of people when they play football.
Sorry? People when
they play football.
Okay, good.
That's what he said to me. So I'm not going to give you money because I'm going to give an analogy of someone who plays football. See that kid in, say, Adenta. Adenta is a part of Ghana that it's not like mid-Accra, who plays football where there's no grass and there's only stones and his ball is made from sellotape, wrapped several times. He said, and he's a very good player, right? And then he goes to the UK to go and play with those kids who had nice grass and proper shoes and a proper ball. What happens? He slammed all of them. Yeah, and he said, if you don't struggle in your business to make it, you will meet somebody like that in the boardroom, and he will just essentially kill you. So you need to struggle to make it. And then I found that, like, when you struggle in terms of finances, because, I mean, when it comes to relationships, your relationships are very important because they support you. Like, for example, my uncle, he's passed away now. I needed some things from the UK. I knew I couldn't afford it. But I called uncle, can I get this and that? And luckily, he gave it to me for free. And then sent it to me in Ghana. And then I was using my dad's house to make my family, no paying rent, you know what I'm saying? Using the air conditioner to cool the butters.
Exactly.
Yeah. But with these people, and then also the struggle of not having finances, what you realize is that innovation is birthed out of constraints.
Yes, I know this one.
You know this one.
Everybody knows this one.
It's so true.
Innovation is born out of constraint.
Yeah, exactly.
And what was, in your opinion, like the biggest innovation that you had to bring to your product or to the industry of shea butter through this constraint? What was it for you?
Edible skincare. Like, as much as it's in our culture, it's something we seem to have left behind or like almost looked down on. Like, remember I told you when they said shea butter, I'm like,
no, I don't. I'm not doing that. No.
You know, I'm not going to say I'm better. Like, exactly. I thought the same thing too. But when I went back and I actually learned, and I was like, wait a minute, how did we dropped the ball on this? When did we believe that we should put chemicals on our skin? When did we think that even edible skincare is weird? Like how warped is the world in terms of marketing and commercialization that somehow we left this really important gem and are putting all sorts of crap on our skin? And so I would say it's edible skin because we have to fight tooth and nail for people to even start to accept it, and people now start to want to emulate it. And hopefully we can break the whole industry where people start to realize that, I'm not putting the stuff on my skin unless I can eat it or I know every single ingredient and it's less than 7 and it has no chemicals. Yeah,
that's the mission actually. You want to get to the level to get people to this constraint.
When they think it's normal.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when you say that, I imagine in 2014, 2015, people were not as conscious as they are today.
No, when we started, this market was not this saturated at all.
Oh, really?
Like, no. I remember people would look at a product and be like, oh, it's made in Ghana.
Not really?
I promise you.
And it's interesting.
They were like, and at that time, too, I did $45, so my packaging was not the best. But as time went along, then it's like, I think there was a whole Ghanaian movement where we started really supporting our own homemade things. I think it's actually a movement in Africa now.
Yeah, in Africa, because we had a discussion with Hélène Diouf of Sisters of Africa. So she's a Senegalese brand. Okay. And she made clothing that was worn by Beyonce and other people. And the funny thing is she told me that before, when she said that, people were like, oh, this is nice clothing. Where is it from?
Yes.
And she said, oh, it's made here in Dakar. People were like, oh. And that's interesting. Is that something that you felt initially? How did you respond to people who were saying that? When people say, it's made in Africa, so I don't really care.
To tell you the truth, I don't think I remember, but I think it might have been convincing them of what it was actually made of, and also giving them that good customer service and also samples, right? So you give the customer a little bit of something, and what I found is sometimes, actually, when I first started, I was working in the bank.
Okay, you were working in the bank.
I was working in the bank, so I would take my bank salary,
and
I'd buy my own products, and I'd give them out for free. And that was, I got a lot of feedback, and also people tend to be kinder to you because they now want to help support you because you also gave them something. But what is really crucial is they feel a little bit more invested, so they give a lot of good feedback and criticism, and I use that to continue to build it.
Interesting. You were not afraid of people because you gave it to them, not being as, I don't know, honest. Maybe some people didn't want to hurt you. I don't know.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's not that people don't want to hurt me. Like, I had to learn in the beginning to sort of disseminate between the kind of feedback people give you, right?
That's interesting. Can you tell me more about that?
So when I first started, I gave it to some people in my office. They're like, this one, you have to add some scents and some fragrance, to make the thing smell nice.
Smell nice.
So I said, okay. And I did it. And I came back and I said, here, I've done it. Okay. And they didn't buy it. They just, so I had to realize that sometimes people are just talking, right? And then to get real feedback is when I realized that don't force them or put them in a corner where you're making them buy. People don't like that. But give it to them as a gift. Oh, thank you. Just let me know what you think. And then they come back and they're more truthful because they're a little bit more invested. Like you went out of your way for this. So, Violet, I like this, but I didn't like this texture. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. It melted. It did this. It did that. Okay.
And when you change it, you bring it to them.
Yes. And then most of the time they'll be like, no, this time let me pay for it.
Then, so for you, a valid feedback is a feedback that when you act on it, people then buy.
Exactly. But that's why I said it's people over profit. Like, give people something of value that they think is worth more than what they're giving up. And in that, they will invest in you because they see something that they're not losing, right? They're rather winning by that interaction.
That's very interesting as a concept. And to this day, you still apply it?
Yes. People over profit 100%.
Oh, yeah, I see it's there. And it's there too.
Yeah, because I'm not, like you said, you're a very analytical person. Like, you know your numbers. As you are talking to me right now, you maybe have so many product lines. So for me, that business side doesn't work.
Exactly. It's interesting. It's just naturally what people feel. And it's what you're giving as a feedback is interesting also for people because that's also one of the mission of this podcast for me, is that other brand owners, other entrepreneurs sometimes don't know how to distinguish a good feedback from a bad.
Yes. Yeah, it takes discernment.
Yeah, and what you gave here is very interesting because they always say, don't believe what people say, look at what they do.
Yes, exactly.
And you gave a great example of like believing that because I always assume that the best way to do that is to have them buy first. But you said you can give it to them.
Give it to them, yeah.
And see, for me, one thing I also said when I noticed when you give it to them is if they use it.
Yes.
If you give it to someone and they just drop it somewhere in their house and never check it out again.
Exactly.
You know you didn't hit a bowl of it.
Exactly.
But if you give it to them and they put it on their skin every day.
And then give you feedback, or at least want to know, and they want to support you because they can see you're actually really trying here.
That's interesting. Do you have any other ways like that when you track people feedback?
With Anka Pay, you can receive your orders directly on Instagram or WhatsApp. Mary gets in touch with the seller and places an order for an outfit directly on Instagram. The seller then goes to Anka Pay to create a secure, fast, and globally accessible payment link. They simply enter the information about the outfit and the amount, and that's it. The link is then sent to the customer, who can proceed to make the payment easily with their preferred payment method. The seller automatically receives their money in the Anka wallet and can withdraw it. Anka Pay. Receive your payments from anywhere in the world. After being paid through their Anka Pay payment link, the money is immediately available in your Anka wallet in a stable currency. You can then easily withdraw it from your Anka dashboard in the currency of your choice.
Well, yeah. One thing I find was very important, and I think this is kind of hitting us in export, is I just wish I could be at the market. Like, to talk to people. Like, talking to them is worth so much in terms of feedback. They will tell you right there how they feel about it. You can see how they're interacting with things. You can read their expressions. And then also, another thing is, I know we do free shipping. And people think we're crazy for doing that. Like, how can you possibly afford that? Trust me, we can. But also, that free shipping thing allows people to, number one, get it in different countries, in different places. You get proper feedback and proper critique from them because it's coming from different places in the world. Yeah. So potential markets that we want to hit, we're at least letting the customer kind of have an experience with the product first. I think I was telling you that for me with marketing, it's not like people do billboard.
Yes.
We don't do billboards.
You don't do, no. Do you do Facebook ads?
No, Instagram.
Instagram ads.
Yeah, Facebook for some reason just doesn't like us. Maybe I haven't figured the algorithm.
Exactly. That's interesting.
Yeah, but like the reason why we don't do billboards is we believe in experiential marketing. Yeah. So like, for example, you'll see our stand at a supermarket. Yeah. And so you have the opportunity to actually touch and feel the product and get to know about it more, as opposed to kind of just showing it to you from a distance away and kind of just convincing you with words.
That's interesting because one of your very strong suits, I believe, and very strong asset is your content.
Interesting. Thank you.
I believe that. So I think you put a lot of effort in your content.
Yes.
And I imagine it's a lot of money too.
Yes. I guess.
Can you talk a bit about that? Because I feel.
But you see, the thing about content is I don't really look at it like I'm advertising. We're telling you a story.
Hey, that's your story.
Like you can talk to our videographer. I am so excited every time he uploads a video because I just can't wait to see how we're teaching somebody something. Like, for example, like our products have so many different uses. So it's really great to do content where we are showing our users the different ways that they can use it, how they can get more out of their product, how we can tell them something more. So for us, it's not necessarily advertising. It's sort of more of communicating with our audience. If they happen to buy out of it, cool. But it's more of kind of just telling you our story a bit better, letting you understand things a little bit better.
And that's how you evaluate like the value of the investment in content, basically.
Essentially, I think it's the engagement that you get and okay, so before when I did content, I did it because Instagram is free. I mean, it's $45. It's free.
Exactly.
But in doing that, I had to understand social media a bit more. And what I found was now people come and tell us things like, wow, we really love your brand because of the different stories you tell, how you educate us, the fact that they talk about how we give them information. And what I realized is without you purposefully crafting something to, the word is actually manipulate, to manipulate people, just telling your story and just being yourself on social media and just pushing it out, people get an affinity to you and kind of get an understanding more of the character. And therefore you get that engagement and you build that community. You don't necessarily have to be like, if we do this advert, we're going to get this, because it's not my strong suit. I'm not a numbers person.
No, you are a number person. You're good at the content you said. Stop saying that you're not among us.
I'm not though.
You're one of us.
I'm praying to God for financial management strength. Like it's not my.
I said financial management strength. But that's very interesting because I really thought like, were you always big on content? When you started initially, do you remember when you created your Instagram account, for example?
Yes. So Okay, there's a story I have from when I was in school, right? So when we're in Ghana, when you're starting school in Ghanaian school, we didn't have computers.
Sure.
So when I went to Uganda, all of a sudden, we're using computers and we're doing PowerPoint presentation. I've never heard of PowerPoint presentation.
Whoa.
So we get to class and everybody has this like fire background and animation text, and then mine comes white background, black ones, because I didn't know. And since that day, it pained me to my soul.
Really?
So if you see my PowerPoints today, I take it personally. I arrive on the spot because I feel like storytelling is so important, and it's a very visual, aesthetic thing. Yeah. And so that's probably what we put into sort of more of the branding is to communicate who we are.
And you worked on that all of your since high school. You felt like
since high school, yes. So I think when I got to university and I had to do presentations, when I got a little bit better, I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
now we all can use computers.
Now we can.
Now we cannot use computers. Now from Ghana, but we can use computers.
We can use computers.
Yeah. And so I think that's where that came up. Like everything you present, like everything you make, you don't just present anything. Whatever you present must look good, must give a good experience. Yeah. You give it your all. That's just how I feel about.
And so when you started the company initially, did you spend much time? Because I know your packaging is also very intentional, etc. So did you spend time? When did you decide, for example, that you were always wearing black and your little hats?
So that evolved. I think the very first shirt I had was white with black writing.
Okay.
And then you see, that's the thing. One thing I found is building the brand is building.
Yeah.
It's constant.
It's a process.
It's constantly evolving. And I always like to think of the brand as like a person, in the sense that when you first start, you're just trying to put down the identity, the basic identity of the brand. Yes. What does it do? But it's not yet rigid, right? So you don't when I started, I just started what it was going to look like, how it's going to feel, the different products, just the concept of it. But by the time it hit 7, I realized that it needs systems. Otherwise, it's going to, that's like any 7-year-old child. You take them to school, systems, you have to build a foundation.
Exactly.
You need systems to actually help it run properly. By the time it's 10 years old, you have to have, you have the core foundation that you've already built, but there must be some systems in place to essentially keep the foundation part, but keep at the same time growing the brand. Does that make any sense what I'm saying?
Yes, and I'm trying to picture, basically, could you give examples to what kind of systems did you put in place?
So like when I first started, I'm not a numbers person, so I just hired an accountant. But I wasn't really watching what he was doing because you're an accountant. Yeah. I'm a brand person. Exactly. I'm building my dream.
Exactly.
Look back 7 years later. What have you been doing? And so all of a sudden I realized that no, as an entrepreneur, I need to actually be in every single piece of it. I can't just give this part to someone because they're not going to care as much as I do. And so looking back at it, I had to go back and formulate my numbers properly and put the systems in place so things are recorded properly, look at where I made mistakes, and also being accountable. And then as you grow even bigger, this is just the financial part. Then you have to start looking at certifications, making sure you're compliant, looking at tax, and at the same time ensuring that you have a brand guide, right? So at first it's in your head and you're building just the little pieces of the blocks. But at some point, it must come out of your head because you're not going to live forever, and other people have to carry on the brand. Yeah. There must be some sort of document. There must be some sort of template that they know what to work with. Yeah.
And do you feel like, so we're definitely going to get to the part of the regulation, but I want to focus on one thing that you talk about is employees.
Yeah.
At which point did you start focus much more on managing the team?
I think 2022.
Okay, what happened
when I
there?
felt like my company almost like collapsed.
Okay. That's a serious moment.
Yeah, I think it's like that. Like when you're building, something gets really good, but then you realize you're weaker somewhere else. Yeah. And so all of a sudden, I had to realize that I had to pay attention to the company's culture because the employees are the company. Like it's not you and they work for you. No, because you are not the brand.
Yeah, you're not the people interacting every day doing the work. You're not doing the work.
Exactly. And so how do you ensure that they continue to carry that character or carry that thing about the company when you are not even there? And I think that was, I'm still figuring it out, but it was very, very difficult to, number one, humble myself and realize that, for example, you think, so I felt like, I had a master's degree, so like I know stuff. Not in Ghana.
Not in Ghana. Not the same environment.
A master's degree from the US. It's not the same thing in Ghana. So you have to realize that the people you work with on the ground, they know what they're talking about. But you have to kind of disseminate where that leadership role comes in and where it is that you should allow them to take the lead. But you cannot take the lead in everything. And that's the most important thing to say, delegate.
Yes.
But even in delegating, you must first find out each and every person's strengths, where they fit in, how they operate best, and then find a way to have a leadership role, but to be able to remove yourself a little bit and let them take control. Because again, one day we're all going to die. And when you're not here, someone else is going to be taking the control or taking the wheel. So it was that kind of organizational change shift. And I know as an entrepreneur that as soon as you hit about 25 to 30, it has to happen all over again, because now you have a bigger pool. It's something that's continuously ongoing.
And that's something that I wonder about all the time, is that do you have moment where your actual business responsibility is conflicting with your creative responsibility?
All the time.
All the time?
All the time.
Really?
All the time. like it's that whole, oh my gosh. Like right now, Violet, you really need to have 50 products. Yes, I do.
I do the
brand. I do. Even my team's like, another one. I'm like,
yeah.
Or like, it's just, there's so many things you want to do that are out of the box that are not compliant. And so either you have to decide, am I going to fight the system? Is it worth it? Or am I going to go with the system? So for us with edible skincare, we had to fight the system.
How? Can you tell me a bit more?
For example, if you go to FDA.
When
we first started.
Yeah, so if you want to sell in the US.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you wanted to sell, like if you're selling Skin Gourmet. So they were like, you can't sell a food product where you can see skin on it. It doesn't make sense. And I remember just sitting there looking at the guy. And he asked me a question. I wasn't answering. I was just looking him in the eye.
Why?
Because what am I supposed to say? Just sign my document and make it food and acceptable, because I've passed everything. Now your only problem is the name. Just because he couldn't get the concept. So I had to go and see a higher up there who was more open-minded. But even to get that access is just by the grace of God.
Okay.
And that higher up was like, oh, I understand what you're doing. This is how I can help you to do it. But then there are other times when it could just be that you're being creative, which completely clashes against compliance. And you have to, again, sit down and talk to yourself and ask and see if it's worth it or not.
And that's this is a very interesting anecdote. So you went to meet the FDA directly, physically?
I had to go there to go and register my products when I first started. Like, it's not something anybody could do for me when I first started.
Okay.
And I had to do all of the battles and all the fights and finding out the categories, because I was also learning about the institution.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think one thing is we expect that institutions should almost easily just do what we say, and they should fit into our organization. But I realized that you have to adapt to the institution.
Yeah, rather.
Because they already have their own rules, sets, regulations, and you have to educate them on what you are doing to see if they can kind of adapt to you.
Yeah, and fit you somewhere.
Exactly.
But that's interesting. So when you think about it today, when should a brand owner go get FDA certified, in your opinion? What should be the trigger for you to get FDA certified, for example?
So for me, I'll be honest, right? If you go and get FDA certified today with your first formulation, I did not do that for my first formulation. Because it sucked.
Exactly.
It was terrible.
Exactly.
But you have to kind of test it and now know that this is what works. I've gotten feedback from my customers. I've gotten feedback. That's why I said markets were very important to me, because markets, you're now going to meet the customer. You also exchange your contact details and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's a more intimate relationship. And then use that information to formulate the product. When you have some idea of a proper formula before you then go to FDA. Otherwise, you find yourself spending a lot of money, because after you think that your product is a success, you've never tested it. Then you go and register it. And then it completely flops. Because nobody gave you feedback. You took nothing in. You did not adjust it, nothing.
Very interesting. And so the question is, when do you know you have a good product? When do you know you have a bestseller?
Well, you know from the demand, right? So I'm not a numbers person, but this part is.
Hey, you see? When you want, can you give me some numbers? Like, when do you feel like?
So
what should a brand owner look forward to say? Oh, now I got the right.
When people keep reordering, and when there's like I said, like a demand. So for example, if we take a product to a supermarket, we watch the traction.
Okay.
And so if it's on the shelf longer than compared to the other products, even if it's just like, for example, if we take it to a supermarket, we may take 3. Not a lot, just 3. Just to see. If that 3 stays there longer than the products that are there, like 12 pieces, you have to come back and reformulate it again. But usually by the time it hits the supermarket, we already usually have the FDA for it, because the supermarket won't take it. But you still have to watch the traction of how the customer will take it without you being there. Without you being there to explain it and sell it, would they just grab it off the shelf? If not, then you need to usually tweak maybe the packaging.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the name. We had that issue where it was not the packaging, it was not the product, it was the name.
People didn't understand Skin Gourmet.
No, the name of the product.
Oh, the name of the product. They didn't know what it was.
Yes. So, like, for example, let's say the Ghana clay mask. I think it was clay mask beginning. It was northern clay, something. And then we made a Ghana clay mask. And all of a sudden, it starts being picked up off the shelf.
Really?
So it's just a matter of just tweaking the product just a little bit. Yeah.
So just by editing, you have that.
Yes, and just adapting the product just a little bit more.
Oh, that's interesting. And do you have other examples of that? So basically, when you realize that like the changes made a significant effect.
Yeah. So like our African bar black soap, right? So most people, when they do an African bar black soap, it's usually round or it's in a tub. And so we decided that, okay, we have the liquid one. Let's do the solid one. But let's do the solid one. I think when we first did it, it was rectangular. But then the packaging was, I think it was white with black stripes. It was good. People were picking it up. They were like, no, let's just make it black. Plain black, African bar black soap. Not too much explanation on it. And then it started flying off the shelves.
Oh, when you took out the
all
white
the
stripes.
fancy design and made it as simple as possible, more minimalistic. And so we realized that for us, less is more. So don't put too much on the packaging. It kind of attracts people. And then also we had to look at branding as a whole. So for some people, if they put their products on the shelf, that works. But for us, we like to always tell a story. So when you meet us, you meet us as a brand. Yes.
And that's something that, that's where the content comes in, basically.
Exactly.
Would you say you spent more money in content or in certification regulation?
Oh, that's certification regulation.
Much more expensive.
And that's because of what you said. We have a lot of products.
You have a lot of products. Coming back again to this one. Really?
That's the main thing, yeah. And also because we're doing edible skincare, so it's very, very in terms of dealing with people's health, we have to be very careful. So we have to do a lot of different certifications. Also because if we want to export, different countries have different regulations, and you have to make sure that for all of those, you're compliant.
Interesting. And for the regulation, what tips could you give to someone that just gets started? Do they need to find a partner to do it? Do they need to go to a lawyer? What would be the best process for you to
If you're just starting, I would say just go there yourself. The reason why is because you need to have an understanding of what's going on. So a lot of times you want to avoid it. But what I found that when you put a third party in there, you don't understand it as well as if you went there yourself. Also, you have to make certain contacts. You have to understand how things are working in that institution. But if you give it to a third party, and for whatever reason that third party is no longer with you, then you lose that relationship and you're going to start all over again. But some people like to go directly by hiring someone at FDA or a consultant. If you have the money for that, feel free.
But you had the money and you think it was better to go directly.
I thought it was better to go there directly because I had an idea of what was going on. I understood the challenges. I understood the problems. And therefore, it was easy to think through for a solution. But if I had sent somebody there, I'm now dealing with a buffer, a third person who not really helped me to understand. I'm not there to pick up like cues, certain messages. Like there's a lot of things that go on when you have a facial interaction with someone than when someone's telling you something. Sometimes a lot of things get lost in translation. And it's just also understanding the terrain.
Very true. Very true. All right. A few last questions for you that I have. When you started, what was the hardest thing for you?
What was not hard?
Yes, everything is hard.
Everything is hard. Like,
but what was the hardest thing? Or you can give multiple. You can give me a top three hardest thing.
My frame of mind, my perception of
your
things.
Perception?
Perception.
How?
Mind over matter. What I mean is, your mind can trick you into thinking that you cannot overcome something. And for me, I had to just basically reset everything, and that was my biggest obstacle.
Okay.
Because I saw that this business was also building me as well.
Yes.
So I had to contend with the fact that I had to humble myself.
Okay.
I had to contend with the fact that I don't know everything. I had to contend with the fact that what I think is correct is not correct. I had to contend with the fact that I need to listen to people a little bit more. And so for me, the hardest thing, the thing that was in my way, my mountain, was me. And it was breaking myself down. And it's a very difficult process.
Extremely, yeah.
Yes. And getting, again, feedback, understanding things that people are teaching you. And at the same time, filtering and understanding which one's not true, which one is true. And at the same, and finding your self-confidence while being broken down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds painful.
It was agonizing.
Do you have an example of like when you realized this thing that you need to humble yourself and you were wrong? Do you remember?
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Give me a few, please.
Let me think. Okay, so There was this time when I started with a team. Usually I used to make decisions on my own.
Okay.
And then I decided that let me create a management team with my team and then have discussions about things. And I think we were talking about pricing or bottles or something. And I was like, and one of the people who had mentioned this is somebody who had not gone to, did not have the education like me at all. The person was like, yeah, but why are we even changing the bottles? And I remember feeling a bit like, like,
why are you
even questioning me in the first place?
Yes.
But I had to stop. And I thought, I was like, you know what? That's actually a good point. We don't have to do that.
You don't have to change
because
the bottles.
The prices were becoming really high for the raw materials. And then we had also added the prices for the bottles. And that person saying that all of a sudden, I realized that, so why, Violet, did you even come up with this bottle thing in the first place? And I felt really stupid. But I really did. But then at the same time, I realized that this is why you have to have people in your team give you the ideas, and it doesn't matter what their background is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it could be that because of where you are from, you think you know, so there are certain things you overlook.
Yeah.
And so I had to realize I had to, number one, respect people's opinions more. Like, not just say I'm respecting it because it's marketing.
Yeah.
Or because, like...
Yeah, because you're a marketer.
Or because you're saying you respect people, but actually really respect it and realize that sometimes you say the dumbest things.
or maybe you came from something that is no longer relevant.
It's no longer relevant at all. And so you have to humble yourself and actually listen and take it in. But then at the same time, when you take it in, you must not completely discredit yourself. It's a crazy balance. Because you are coming with some experience and you know the brand, but so you have to realize which information to take in, which information to accept, which to reject, which to consider. And this is all within you by yourself. And you have to do it with absolutely no arrogance.
Very hard. Yeah, very interesting.
It's a very hard, very interesting.
Not very interesting because I can definitely relate to that. And what would say was the thing you enjoyed the most initially?
Same thing.
Yeah.
Changing. Yes, like I love the fact that I'm growing by leading this brand, right? That the brand, in building its character and saying what it is, I have to be that. So it challenges me every day because I really need to look at myself. Let me give you an example.
Yeah, I love this.
This one is so shy, but I'll say it.
Okay,
so,
go.
There was a time when, so I would be late with salaries.
Oh,
I said it. Oh, please don't judge me. What? I said it. I said it.
I understand.
I don't like that.
You're a very honest person.
Thank you. I'm trying to be.
Exactly. This is the African nightmare, the African entrepreneur's sin.
And then the thing
cardinal sin.
The thing I was annoyed was, but these suppliers I've supplied, you're not paying me on time. And then it struck me. Yeah, but are you paying your suppliers on time? And I had to say, I'm like, you know what? No. Violet, you don't pay your suppliers on time. You don't pay your employees on time. Who the hell are you to expect that anybody will pay you on time? And I said to myself, this is a problem we have in the system. The only way I can change it is myself
being different.
So you have to decide it's a priority. You have to decide you're going to put systems in place. And you have to force. And if you can't, you can communicate. And tell the person, I know I told you this date, but it's going to be this date because of this and that, and it's unforeseen, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that respect factor makes you more authentic.
That's extremely important. You're right, because there is no glory in that, unfortunately.
At all. And it's very shameful to say, but...
No.
I was reading my Bible, and it said, you must pay your employees on time. I said...
Yeah, how? That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And when you think about today, your job today with all of your employees, your big brand, what is the thing that is the hardest today for you still?
Finances.
Finances?
I told you I was praying for financial management. It's not finances, right? But for me,
the hardest part, it's margin.
I wish I was more disciplined. Yes, like I'm working on it, but like it's that creative spark. Oh my God, I have this idea, Jonathan. We're gonna make chopping boards, and it's gonna be amazing. And he's like, okay.
Yes. So the hardest thing you say.
The hardest thing for me is the numbers.
And the discipline. It's interesting because, like you said, it's not the numbers, like making them or understanding them.
No.
It's actually the discipline behind them.
The discipline behind it. I think that's a whole different skill and art. And I think I'm more skewed towards one, and I tend to run away. I can do accounting, but accounting is more historical than it is.
It's not. It's not prospective.
Exactly.
It's just the past, a picture of the past.
Exactly. And so I think that's one thing I really wish I was very good at, like my dad, like to be able to
plan and structure.
Plan better and structure properly and be disciplined and stick to one thing.
No, I can hear.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem. That's interesting. And what is the thing you enjoy the most now in your business?
I think for me is the people part.
people?
Like, I like my team. I like my team a lot.
Yeah.
Like my team and I, we vibe.
Yeah, and I
really
vibe.
You know, like we get along, you know. So it's really nice also because it's like, it's work, but we all doing it together. And again, is that bothering you?
No, it's okay. Don't worry. No.
And again, it's like, they're teaching me every day. I learn so much from them, it's insane. And they've taught me like a whole new level of understanding some things. Like, for example, when we as entrepreneurs, we hire people, we think they're there to solve our problem. I realize that no. The work they're getting is to solve their problem. So therefore, you are solving a problem for them. When they come and you put unnecessary stress or you put unnecessary demands or maybe you're in a bad mood you put on them, it makes it harder for them to solve your problem. Yes. Because you haven't solved their problem.
And you create other problems.
Exactly. And
you give them other problems, other priorities that they don't really are in the way of solving what you expect them to do.
Exactly. And I think that's been really amazing, I guess. Again, like I told you, for me, the biggest obstacle is myself. And I think that I think they say that even in church, when you fellowship or you work with other people, it tends to smooth out your edges because you learn what is wrong with you and what is right with you because you constantly have that feedback. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Okay.
I also like content.
You like content. Tell the truth. Okay. So, quick question. Can you tell the people how much money you spend on content?
No! I don't want to discuss that right now.
Why? It's interesting. Like, because people would say, I want to have content like Skin Gourmet. I would like them to have at least a range of how much money you spend on that. And time, but money especially.
Okay, so just content.
Yeah.
Just content.
Just content.
Okay.
Just videos and photo.
No.
What range can you?
So about 10,000 cities a month.
10,000 cities a month?
It's not that much. It's less than $1,000.
Yeah, but...
It's a lot for a small business.
No, it's not a lot. Honestly, I will give you an example. When I talk to Grassfields, I don't know if you know the brand Grassfields, they have like 900,000 followers.
Oh my God.
On Instagram. They spend $5,000 per month on content.
Okay.
So you can spend more.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate this is what, Jonathan, I can spend more.
No, this is the one thing I can tell. And from my experience, you know, we both did ABH. And when I met Jack Ma, this is the thing that struck me the most.
You're so lucky you met him.
Yeah, I was the first year. I'm sorry.
No!
And he was in Accra.
He was there. So jealous.
And the biggest lesson I really got from him, honestly, he didn't say it.
Yeah.
But when you meet him, you really feel like, oh, it's stupid to try to save money on the thing you're great on.
Oh, you know, you just
really
continue.
No, I'm really. No,
I just love what you just said. Just continue.
You know, it's stupid because a lot of us are trying to, you know, like at school, to be balanced.
Yeah.
To try to fix the things we are bad at.
Yeah.
To try to improve all of them. When in reality, entrepreneurship is a lot about focusing on what you're great at and trying to find people that are good at the things you're bad at.
Okay.
And everybody focus on what they're good at.
I love that.
And honestly, you're so great at content and brand that I think you should spend more money on it.
Thank you. Jonathan!
We like that.
Did you hear? Okay. I'll do just that.
I think honestly, because definitely it seems to be part of your engine. So spending less on it is actually like pumping your engine. So it depends what is your priority, but I will give you an example. And I think about this as an exercise. Try to picture yourself today if you were starting the brand from zero and I gave you $1,000. What would you spend your money on?
Packaging.
Packaging? You would do $1,000 packaging? No, let's try to split it a bit. How would you spend it?
Okay.
How would you spend it?
Let me think. Okay, so of course I have to get my raw materials.
Yes, so raw materials, how much money would you spend on raw materials?
But you're going to get today. Let's do back then. Maybe raw materials, I might spend maybe $100.
$100?
$100 on
that.
Okay. Then I have to like buy my uniforms, and then I'll have to buy packaging, and I have to buy a little bit of brand gear. That'll be about $400.
$400? Interesting.
Wait, do I have employees or I don't have employees?
The employees are part of the money.
Hey! Then 1,000 ain't enough.
Okay,
fine.
No. And 1,000, you have no employees, it's just yourself.
Okay, yeah. I still need like gear, like because if I go to market, you have to get your tablecloth, you have to get like your little wooden boxes.
400.
You have to get that's a 400, everything in there.
So you already have half of the money gone.
Yes.
What is the other half now?
The other half I would use for market fees. Like to get to market.
To get to market. So you're going to making the company.
Trademarks, things like that. Not trademarks, like going to meet people. And of course, yes, I'll use some of it for trademarking.
Trademarking?
Yeah, so I trademarked my logo almost immediately. That's about $250.
Okay, but not on this exercise of the
Okay,
1,000.
not this exercise.
So you would say $250 for going to market.
Yes.
That can be Facebook ads.
Okay. No. I haven't even added Facebook ads yet.
Oh, you don't have
In
marketing?
that case, let's make it another 400 because people need to know.
So basically, you have $100 left.
I have to pay myself. It's been a long day.
Okay, that's your split.
No, but most likely I would probably use that more also for markets and things like that.
So other question then, and we conclude on that. If you had now $1 million to spend,
Oh my God.
how would you spend it? $1 million a year.
Okay.
How would you spend that?
One thing we have to do is certifications.
You will focus on that.
Certification, but we don't do our certifications normally. Like usually you do the certification for yourself, but like we have to certify some of the communities that we work with, and that means that there's a lot of training and development that goes in there.
Yeah.
Of course, we have to get a new facility because this one is quite small.
Really?
Know?
No,
we gotta upgrade.
You wanna get upgrade?
We gotta upgrade. You know. What else did I use it for? Definitely trade shows. That's traveling. In order to get the contracts we need, and definitely marketing. Serious SEO. Let people know that we are around. Like, I mean, I was telling you about my website guy, who's amazing, and he was telling me, Violet, you need to like put $50,000 aside just to do like ads online to like drive the traffic to the website, because our website has all of that. But if I had that money, I would definitely use it for some serious sales,
advertising,
and of course to improve our production capabilities.
So to follow up with the
to be able to keep up with the demand.
Amazing. I think that's a wrap for me, honestly.
We're done?
Yeah,
I was having so much fun.
I think we asked all of the questions. It's been over an hour. You know, my idea is if people want to know more, they can follow Skin Gourmet.
Okay.
They can go to you.
Okay.
Where do you want them to meet you and follow your brand?
Okay, so you can meet me at Skin Gourmet GH on Instagram, Skin Gourmet on Facebook, Skin Gourmet on TikTok, skingourmet.com. Spell that SKINGOURMET.com.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you for listening, everyone, and thank you, Violet, for receiving us in your beautiful space.
Thank you.
Very, very interesting discussion. Thank you again for your time.
You're most welcome.